Hey friend, welcome back to Running to Myself. I'm your host, Trisha Stanton, and today we are diving into a mindset shift that could change the entire way you move through life. In fact, this is one of the biggest differences I see between people who feel stuck and defeated and people who feel grounded, capable, and hopeful. It's something I call courageous responsibility. Not blame, not shame, and not beating yourself up, but ownership, the kind that builds confidence, peace, and momentum when practiced over time. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's explore this together. Recently, I was in a conversation with someone who was telling me about all the ways life wasn't working out for them. Every frustration, every disappointment, every unfair circumstance. And as they spoke, the theme was clear. Everyone else was responsible for their pain. Other people had let them down. Life kept stacking against them. When we ended the conversation, I didn't feel sad about their circumstances. I felt sad because I could see what was coming next. This wasn't a temporary perspective, it was a practiced story. A story that would keep creating the same painful ending again and again. And I knew this because of two things. Number one, they didn't take responsibility for any part of their situation. They were the victim of every chapter. And number two, they had zero intention of changing any patterns going forward. Same beliefs, same choices, same cycle. I wasn't judging them. I've lived that story at times too. And maybe you have as well. But here's what I know now. When you live in a victim mindset, the outcome is always defeat. Not because life is unfair, but because you've given up your role in shaping what comes next. A victim story says, I can't do anything about this. But an ownership story says, I have a part here I can work with. A victim story feels familiar but powerless. Ownership may feel uncomfortable, but it is powerful. When we believe life is happening to us, we wait for circumstances to change. But when we believe life is happening with us, we look for the role that we can play. And that shift is everything. Now, I want to be clear. Courageous responsibility is not self-blame. It's not taking on other people's mistakes, and it's not carrying the weight of the world. Here's what it is. Owning your choices without beating yourself up, acknowledging your patterns without shame, responding instead of reacting, and seeing options instead of dead ends. It requires courage because it's easier to stay in old stories than it is to rewrite them. And it's easier to blame than to grow. It's easier to wait than to act. And it's easier to feel powerless than to risk trying. But here's the good news. The more responsibility you take, the more capable and calm you become. You stop fighting reality and you start creating possibility. You trust yourself more, you like yourself more, you show up for yourself more. And a belief begins to come to life and strengthen inside of you. A belief that says, my past doesn't decide my future, my choices today do. That is courageous responsibility. I used to think that if something was my fault, it meant I was flawed. And I wanted to do it right the first time, every time, no mistakes, no missteps, no vulnerability. But that way of living kept me small. The shift happened when I realized if I play a role in creating the outcome, then I can also play a role in changing it. So instead of asking, who is to blame? I began asking, what part is mine to own? And that one question lowered the emotional temperature and raised my clarity. It opened me up to seeking solutions instead of trying to dodge shame. Now, this mindset doesn't grow overnight. It grows through practice, one repetition at a time. Here are 3 simple ways to start. Number 1, ask this daily. What part of this is mine to own? Not from a place of guilt, but from a place of empowerment. Here's an example. You're late because your teenager took too long. Your brain wants to blame them. But what part of it is yours? Maybe it's giving a warning earlier. Maybe it's planning more margin in the morning. This isn't about taking on all the responsibility, but it's about anchoring yourself in the part you can control. Try saying, "This isn't happening to me. I get to decide what happens next." That one shift can change your entire day. Number two, move from accepting the first thought your brain offers to finding the neutral thought. Our first reactions often come from fear or frustration, but our second reactions, when we slow down, can come from wisdom. Instead of, "They shouldn't do that, this always happens to me, I can't handle this," try, "Here's what happened, now what are my options?" Neutral thinking doesn't deny your feelings, it just doesn't hand them the keys. Here's an example. Someone doesn't invite you to something. The first thought your brain offers is, "They don't like me." A more neutral thought is, "A plan happened without me. How do I want to respond moving forward?" Intentionally choosing the neutral thought creates room for truth to show up instead of assumptions running the show. And number three, take one small action that aligns with ownership. Responsibility isn't a thought, it's a follow through. Ownership becomes real when you act on it. Here's an example. You notice, "I shut down when I feel criticized." Ownership says, "I want to respond differently." The action you might take is to have a sentence ready for the next time you feel criticized. Something like, "Thanks for the feedback. I need a moment to think about that." Small actions break big patterns. Small actions build big confidence. And small actions lead to a life with a better story. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can do today that my future self will thank me for? And then do that. When you practice courageous responsibility consistently, you stop waiting for people to change. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop waiting for a rescue. And you begin creating the life you want, one decision at a time. You feel more hope, more peace, more strength inside your own body. You become someone you can rely on and someone you are proud of. If something inside of you is saying, "I'm ready for this," listen to that voice. Pick one area today, just one, and ask, what is mine to own here? What is one small action I can take? It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be public. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. Your story isn't fixed. Your patterns aren't permanent. Your agency is alive and well. And friend, I believe you can do this. I truly do. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for doing this brave work. And if this episode encouraged you or gave you something to think about, share it with someone who might need the same spark. You are not alone on this journey. We're doing this together, one courageous step at a time. I'll see you next time on Running to Myself.